You once believed that knowing yourself was the key to freedom, that if you could peel back every thought, trace every fear, analyze every impulse, you'd finally arrive at some ultimate truth, a version of yourself you could hold on to. But now you're not so sure. The more you dig into the soil of your own consciousness, you start to realize, the more you search for yourself, the more you lose sight of who you truly are. You begin to wonder, is this constant reflection liberating, or is it a cage you've built around your own mind? You live in a world obsessed with self-understanding. Therapy, journals, personality types, shadow work, psychedelics, AI soul readings, you name it. You're constantly chasing this one thing, a fixed definition of who you really are. But self-awareness alone doesn't lead to freedom. Letting go of the need to define yourself does. Franz Kafka's characters are perfect examples of this. In the trial, Joseph K. is trapped, not just by an absurd legal system, but by his obsession with understanding it. The more he analyzes, the more powerless he becomes. He is caught in the clutches of an incomprehensible system and only spirals deeper into confusion, unable to break free because his search for understanding never leads to clarity. And in Notes from Underground, Dostoyevsky's narrator analyzes every little detail of his existence, trapped in a web of self-awareness. He overthinks everything, his thoughts, his relationships, his past, and ends up paralyzed. The narrator's problem isn't that he lacks insight or is ignorant, it's that he has too much of it. He knows all the logical reasons to act, yet he does nothing. He mocks himself for wanting human connection, yet isolates himself further. This is the paradox. The more you try to define yourself, the more rigid and uncertain you become. The mind becomes a labyrinth, and the longer you wander, the harder it is to find a way out. You've felt that too, the nagging feeling that if you just understand yourself enough, you'll know what to do. But what happens when the search itself becomes endless? When the desire to define yourself, to dissect every action and emotion actually paralyzes you? Indian philosophy values self-awareness too, but with a critical difference. It doesn't see identity as something to be endlessly dissected, but as something to transcend. The Bhagavad Gita offers a contrast to Dostoyevsky's overthinking underground man. Arjuna, caught in a moral crisis, overanalyzes everything, his duty, his identity, his fears. But Krishna tells him, Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nyayam bhutva bhavittavana bhuyaha ajo nitya shasvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The self is neither born nor does it die. Knowing this, you should not grieve. The Gita proposes that true self-awareness isn't about ego-driven reflection. It's about realizing that the self is not just your thoughts, emotions, or experiences. Over-identifying with these leads to paralysis. Liberation, or moksha, comes when you see beyond the self as an isolated being and recognize your connection to a greater whole, Paramatma. Today, we are more self-aware than ever, but that hasn't made us happier. If anything, it's made us more neurotic. We curate identities online, analyze our behaviors in therapy, and obsess over whether we are being authentic enough. We are endlessly trying to define ourselves, and yet we never seem to arrive at a clear answer. This hyper-focus on the self leads to a fragmented, unstable identity, one that is always shifting and never certain. This is where Indian philosophy offers a radical solution. Stop trying to define yourself so rigidly. Instead of asking, who am I? The Upanishads seek a deeper question. Who is the one who is aware? Letting go of the need to define yourself at all. Stop clinging to rigid labels. Identity is not a fixed destination, but an unfolding journey. This shift invites us to focus on the awareness itself, not the identity you're trying to pin down. You no longer need to believe that self-awareness alone will lead to freedom. True freedom comes from understanding that the self is fluid, not fixed. To live without clinging to this constant need to define yourself is to find peace in the chaos. And that's where liberation lies. It's not in the endless analysis of the I, it's in the ability to let the I dissolve and simply be. Krishna's many names reminds us that identity is not static but fluid. And in that fluidity, in that surrender, freedom finally begins. So stop asking, who am I? And start watching, who's asking. Namaste.